Hey guys, so today I want to share with you some of the things that I shared with some of my clients that were suffering from relationship stress, and it may just help you just as it helped them. All right, so today we are going to be looking at the 4 harmful stages that destroy relationship. The 4 harmful stages that destroy relationship. All right, so the first one is resistance. The resistance stage is actually the stage where one of the parties is actually upset with the other person, and instead of communicating, because you're upset, it means your rule is broken, right? So you need to actually find out what particular rule has been broken, and you need to communicate that. Now, a lot of times, instead of communicating every time you are upset, letting the other person know that they had offended you, instead of doing that, what a lot of people do is that they bottle it up. All right, they don't talk about it, so they don't communicate. They don't communicate it when they're upset. Now, what usually happens is that if you keep bottling it up, not expressing these emotions, not communicating it, because the person cannot read your mind to know that whatever it was that they said or did was offensive to you. So if you don't communicate it, the person cannot read your mind. But what a lot of people do is that they keep it, and over time you start to accumulate lots of upsets, right? And that will now lead to the second stage, which is the resentment stage. Now, in this resentment stage, because you did not handle the resistance, the frequent resistance that occurred in the first instance, it will now accumulate and lead to this resentment stage. And this stage, that is when you are angry with this person. This is like pent up anger. So you are angry with this person because of what the person had been doing to you, and you've been bottling things up. And what happens is that you begin to build, if you still don't communicate it, you will begin to build an emotional barrier between you and your partner. So you begin to build an emotional barrier, and this can actually destroy intimacy. You begin to feel a bit separated from this person. All right, now if you allow this resentment stage to continue and you still don't communicate what it is that is making you angry, it will lead to the third stage. And in this third stage, it is called the rejection stage. And in this stage, this is where the resentment has built up over time, you see. And then this time you start looking for the wrongs, things that they do to prove that they are wrong. You start looking for ways to prove them wrong. You start getting upset with every little thing. So you're always finding faults, or you're looking for mistakes or faults with the things that they do. You look for ways to verbally and non-verbally attack your partner because of what they are doing. It's just like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you believe the worst about them. Any little thing they do, you begin to pick offense, and you will now look for ways to verbally or non-verbally attack them. You see, and this is actually not a good thing, because what will happen is that everything they do becomes very irritating to you. You see, and this is where people begin to fight, couples begin to fight, because there's already a disconnect. There's an emotional disconnection between the two of you. Now, if you allow this to continue and you still don't communicate it, you don't resolve whatever issues that it was, it will not lead to the fourth and final stage, which is actually the repression phase. Now, in this repression phase, you are so upset, you're so tired, you're so angry, and you are tired of dealing with all this anger, because you don't want to handle this consistent pain, in an attempt for you to deal with the pain that comes from this whole phase that you've been going through, the constant anger, unexpressed anger and unexpressed unhealthy negative emotions that you had. what will happen is that, so for you to cope better, you begin to develop emotional numbness, where you don't feel anything anymore. So you suppress your emotions, you become emotionally disconnected from your partner, and you don't feel anything for them anymore. So this is where at this phase the love is gone. This is where couples become just roommates, and then they stay with each other for whatever reasons that they are staying. Either they are staying because of the children, or because maybe one of them does not have the means or resources to get their own place, or maybe because of what society would say. But some people actually go ahead and get divorced at this phase. So a lot of people will now stay just because they want to stay, but at this point there is no relationship anymore. There is already emotional disconnection. Like I said, the couples become just roommates. You guys are just living together. There is no more relationship. So what should you do when this occurs? Before it gets to the third or even the final stage, you should do something about it. You should learn to communicate, because all these problems actually started from miscommunication, not communicating your rules up front. I actually made a video on how your personal rules can be causing you stress. So if you don't communicate your rules up front, if you don't communicate it every time you are upset and you are expecting the person to read your mind that you're upset about whatever it was that they said or did. So I'm going to be listing ways that you can actually deal with this. All right, so these were some of the things I shared with my clients that helped them, and it might help you too. All right, so the very first one is to communicate your rules up front. I already made a video on how your personal rules can be causing you stress. All right, so you need to learn to communicate your rules up front, because most times our rules are unspoken rules. You know your rules, but you don't communicate it up front, and then when somebody goes against your rule, you get upset, right? And instead of you to even communicate this upset, you are bottling it up. You are not saying anything, and then you are light to accumulate, so you don't want to do that. So first is to communicate your rules up front, because communication is key. So, and I usually tell them that they need to adopt this belief that the meaning of a communication is the response you get. The meaning of a communication is the response you get. So if you are not getting your desired response, then you should learn to modify your communication until you get the response that you desire. Because you do that with your children. If your child comes, for example, and you tell them to bring you a spoon and they go to give you a plate, you will come down to your child's level and then communicate and describe in the language that they will understand what's the difference between a spoon and a plate, right? But when it comes to adults, you don't do that. What you do is you say, does she not know? Does he not know that? Is he a child? Is she a child? You see, that's what we usually do. All right, so number one, I said you learn to communicate your rules up front. Then number two, you want to use preferences. A lot of times we are communicating the things that we don't like, the things that we don't want. I don't like it when you say XYZ. I don't like it when you do XYZ. I don't like. So what about the things that you like? So communicate your preference. For example, instead of saying I don't like it when you tell me this, or when you call me that, or when you do this, tell them I would like it if you do XYZ. So communicate your preference. All right. Number three is to use transformational vocabulary. All right. So use transformational vocabulary, which is words that actually help to. Transformational vocabularies are words that help to intensify or lower the intensity of your emotions. All right. So that's what transformational vocabularies are. If, for example, somebody did something to you and you say, oh, you are angry, then you'll be angry. Now, being angry, being upset is different from being angry, and it's different from being enraged. You see, all these three words, they mean the same thing. They describe different levels of anger, but the intensity differs. You see, so if you tell them I am upset about XYZ, even when you are very angry, it will also help. You see, and then so you should learn to use transformational vocabulary sometimes, so that you don't go ahead to say things that you don't mean to say. So if you want to learn more tips on how you can communicate better to manage your relationship stress, then you need to book a consultation. Alright, and if this video made sense to you, don't forget to like, share, and comment. So until next time, have an amazing day. Bye for now.